Time now for a look at the business headlines. Kate Moody is here. Good morning, Kate.
Hi, Melissa.
We begin with this very odd news from Venezuela that public sector workers get an extra day at the weekend.
Yeah, for 2 whole months, rather, a 3-day weekend for about 1 million people who work in the public sector government offices in Venezuela. Now, the country is dealing with an energy crisis because it gets about 70% of its electricity from hydroelectric plants, which are running at very low levels because of a drought. Now, skeptics have pointed out that they may well use just as much energy staying at home. Oliver Farry explains.
It's an energy crisis Venezuela's president has called extreme, and now Nicolas Maduro is taking extreme measures. On Wednesday, he outlined emergency strictures to conserve electricity. Chief among them is putting public sector workers on a 4-day week for the next 2 months.
Tomorrow, the special decree will be announced, establishing every Friday as a non-working day, starting on Friday of this week during the months of April and May.
The president is reluctant to raise rates, but critics say the measures will be futile given low electricity prices.
You have to say it's absurd, because no matter what they do to avoid using too much energy, there's always going to be that excess. I think they're paralyzing the country.
It's the same. Save at work and at home. It's the very same thing. It's just like that, because what will they save on electricity at work? They'll spend at the house. It's just the same.
The heart of the problem is the low water level at Guri Dam, which provides 70% of the country's electricity. Drought caused by the El Niño weather phenomenon has compounded problems caused by years of maintenance neglect. Previous measures taken to combat the power shortage include a week off work last month, cutting the opening hours of more than 100 shopping centres, and a presidential recommendation to avoid using hairdryers and straightening irons.
And we look now, Kate, at what was a real treat for financial buffs. A rare spectacle indeed for Federal Reserve chiefs discussing the global economy.
Yeah, exactly. Ben Bernanke, Paul Volcker and Alan Greenspan, those names may ring a bell, former Federal Reserve chiefs. They joined Janet Yellen to discuss the biggest risks facing the global economy. Now, they tried to dispel concerns that the U.S. is heading back towards recession, saying the economy is progressing slowly, that the U.S. labor market is close to being back to full strength. Yellen herself said that the central bank is still on track to slowly raise interest rates again later this year. Inflation is on a slow but upwards trend, she said, and she rejected recent remarks by Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump that an economic bubble could soon burst. Take a listen.
I certainly wouldn't describe this as a bubble economy. We have relatively weak global growth, but the U.S. economy has been doing well, and domestic strength has been propelling us forward in spite of the fact that we're suffering a drag from the global economy.
Yellen there. Give us a look now, Kate, at the markets. How are they faring this morning?
Well, a mixed picture in Asia. A mostly negative trend, actually. The Nikkei, the exception to that rule, you can see it was up about 0.5 percentage point. Shanghai closing down 1%. Now, the Japanese yen has hit a 17-month high against the US dollar during this session. A strong currency is bad news for Japanese exporters because it makes their products more expensive. And there's been increasing speculation that the Japanese central bank could eventually have to intervene to lower the value of its currency. A more upbeat picture as the European markets open for business. You can see there the London FTSE and Frankfurt DAX up about 0.5 percentage point each. The banking sector giving a boost to early trading. Let's move on to some of the day's other business headlines now. British authorities have reportedly launched a criminal investigation into Tata Steel's operations. Telegraph says that the UK's Serious Fraud Office is looking into whether staff at a plant in Yorkshire faked certificates on the composition of its products. Last month, Tata said it would sell its UK operations, putting thousands of jobs at risk. The British government is facing increasing pressure to broker a sale and opened talks with potential buyers earlier this week. The Gap clothing chain saw its sales slip 6.5% last month, and shares dropped nearly 9% in after-hours trading. US-based retailer, which also owns Banana Republic and Old Navy, has fallen out of favor with many young shoppers and has struggled under a management overhaul. And Uber has agreed to pay up to $25 million to settle a lawsuit in California. The cities of Los Angeles and San Francisco sued the company for allegedly misleading customers in advertisements about background checks on its drivers. The fine could be as low as $10 million in the end if Uber adheres to industry regulations in the coming years. That would include meter inspections and special licenses to operate at airports.
And finally, Kate, you found an unusual job opening.
Yeah, this is in Tasmania, off the Australian coast, and the job that's being advertised there is Chief Wombat Cuddler. Now, Flinders Island is this small island. It's looking for someone to come spend time with Derek. He's an orphaned wombat, just a few months old. He found internet fame after a fan posted this video of him. Now, I should point out, it's actually not a full-time position, unfortunately. It's actually a contest that's being sponsored by Tourism Tasmania. They say they've gotten more than 2,000 entries so far, Australian residents who would like to be flown to the island to meet Derek the wombat and give him a little hug there.
Oh, worth keeping an eye on if ever journalism ceases to
it doesn't work out for us.
Please, we know wombat cuddling beckons. Thank you very much indeed, Kate Moody. Look there at the business news